All right, what's going on, winners? This is Coach JC, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Win All Day podcast show. I am super excited. I cannot wait. I'm actually bringing my guest on right now just so you can see him, but I cannot wait to introduce him. But here's what we got to do. If you're a frequent listener, you know what time it is. It's time for the Win All Day Winning Confession. We believe at Win All Day that if you want to live a life of winning, that you got to speak winning words. You cannot win if you're speaking words of defeat. If it's your first time, just repeat after me. Today is my day. Nothing will get in my way of me being the best version of me. I am here on purpose. I have a purpose. I am strong. I am passionate. I am fearless. I choose faith. I am a winner. I will win and win all day. Come on. Yes, you are a winner. And I believe after today's show, you're going to win more. Without further ado, I brought him on the screen. What is going on? The one and only Mr. Ed Mylett. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm fired up after that confession. I'm ready to roll, brother. Let's do this.
Let's go. I'm excited. I can't tell you, this is way overdue. I've had many people that are friends of yours and mine over the last probably year say, when is Win All Day going to team up with Max Out? You guys got to do something together. Ed has some of the craziest, most amazing energy in the world, and you do, JC. So I'm just excited for this episode. I want to just intro you really quick, and then I want to hand it over to you, and let's have a lot of fun. We have a new book coming out that I'm super excited about as well. So guys, if you are online and you don't know who this is, then I don't know what is wrong with you. This is the one and only Max Out King himself, Ed Mylett, who is a highly successful entrepreneur. And he's blended his unique experiences with a diverse set of practical strategies that have made him one of the most sought after inspirational speakers in the world today. One of the guys with the biggest heart in the world is this guy right here. And he has started sharing inspirational and performance strategies live online just 4 short years ago, and now has over 2 million Instagram followers, wrote a best-selling book, has another best-selling book that will be launched June 1st. We're excited about that. He has the Ed Mylett Show, which is probably the most popular podcast on the internet. So yes, I did say that, Joe Rogan. If you have not had Ed Mylett on, you need to have him on. He's a keynote speaker. He's spoken on some of the largest stages. He rose to the top in the financial industry. He earned a place on Forbes 50th Wealthiest Under 50 list. And he is also known for combining his faith with mindset and tactical strategies to really just help people win and max out their lives. And I love him because I know he incorporates, and he's very bold and courageous in incorporating his faith in God. He always is giving credit to his mentors. I hear you talk a lot about your father, who's taught you so many lessons, which I love, because there's so many people out there that say, I'm self-made this. I've never heard Ed Mylett say I'm self-made anything. He's also out here a pretty good golfer, big into health and wellness and lifting weights. And probably his biggest accomplishments, obviously, is being an amazing husband and a father. So without further ado, let's please welcome the one and only. This is the king of Max Out, the one and only Mr. Ed Mylett. Sir, welcome to the show, brother.
JC, I don't think I've ever been introed that well in my entire life, man.
Come on, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And I just wanted you to take the audience back just for a moment, man. Obviously, you've had a ton of success in life and where we are today, and you're helping a lot of people win. But obviously, it didn't start there. For maybe some viewers that are listening, I would love for you just to give us a Cliff Note version. How did you get to where we are today, the Ed Mylett?
God's grace, man. That's the real answer. It's funny. I just wrote this book, The Power of One More, with all these keys, the keys to success and happiness, the book's called. And as I was writing it, I almost felt guilty because I wrote a huge chapter on faith. Thank God I did do that. But sometimes when you go back and say, I did this, 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 and this, these are my strategies, you could be, you might be led to believe that somehow I'm special or different, and I'm not. I'm very average and ordinary. And probably the reason I'm in personal development, JC, is that I had no self-esteem as a kid. My dad was an alcoholic. I read about this in the book. He got sober when I was 15, but I grew up with no self-esteem, very low self-confidence. And I got into personal development, man, just to become a baseline functioning human, just to try to get to baseline. And then I got so good at it, these strategies, I started making them my own, and just had some very unique people in my life that I started to take it to another level. And then it was, a very high level of confidence, very high level of performance. And then it went to coaching some of the top politicians and entertainers and athletes on the planet. So the journey started leaving my house every day really low on myself because my dad had probably been drinking the night before. I'd go to school and get bullied. I wasn't a great student. I was a little guy. So that's where it started, like just really in a really bad place. But God disguises most of our dreams as obstacles.
Yeah.
Most of the things in our life are disguised as obstacles. And thank God for me that I learned the things that I write about in this book and that God is so good.
Man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I didn't know that about you. My dad was actually, growing up, my dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Me too.
He's been clean now 37 years. He's one of the top drug and alcohol counselors in the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
But man, I relate to you, man. I
didn't know that. My dad was 35 years sober and he died last year. So
wow.
Man. We share a lot in common, man. Like a lot.
And I'll tell you what's crazy. What you just said is I threw away. I came out from New Jersey to play basketball at Oral Roberts University, a school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I threw away my basketball opportunity, got a young girl on campus pregnant. I don't know how much about my story you know, but she got pregnant, threw that story away. I was married, divorced in 8 months. And, you know, the thing that changed my life was two things, the word of God and personal development. I got a hold of a Tony Robbins book, Les Brown, you know, and then T.D. Jakes and Bible school. And those two things combined radically changed my life. So I can relate with you on that, man.
Amen, brother. Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
I love it. So talk to us about this a little, man. I think, when did you act, like, when would you say you had when did the whole God thing come about? When did the faith really become known in your life and you made it real to you?
Yeah, you know what? I get asked that a lot. I don't know precisely. I'll tell you why I say that. I have a relationship with God. We've had, you know, when I was younger, we had our ups and downs like any relationship, you know, like I thought we were good and then I wasn't so good. But as I think, you know, sometime probably around when my kids were born, it just started to sit into me that, you know, I remember when my son was born, just having this unconditional love for my son. And I remember saying to myself, looking at him like, man, if he killed somebody, I'd help him hide the body, you know, like that crazy. And I remember thinking, you can't love somebody this much. And I actually out loud said to myself the day my son was born, I go, it's amazing that God loves me even more than I love this child. That's hard to comprehend. That's hard to fathom. And so I think having kids did that. And then one other incident, my dad got sober. His first AA meeting, he came home and he said, I was at his house. College baseball didn't work out. I was going to play professionally. Didn't work out. I'm eating out of my dad's fridge. I'm living in the same bed I grew up in. My old man says, I got you a job tomorrow morning. Show up there.
Come on.
I show up. It's an orphanage. And I did not know that when I went there. I was totally unqualified. No kids of my own. I'm not a psychologist. But God doesn't call the qualified. Nope. He qualifies the called. And I showed up there and my life changed because my alcoholic background with my dad, that dysfunction allowed me to connect with these boys. My boys' parents were dead, incarcerated, or had molested them, all 8 to 10 years old. And I was not in business at the time. I had no money. In fact, here's how old I am. I was making $6 an hour then. But wow. The greatest life lesson ever happened there. I took these boys to school. I took them trick-or-treating. I was there when they'd open their one present on Christmas. My life changed, man. I went from being a very self-centered, ego-driven athlete, which I'm sure you can relate to those days, right? To all of a sudden, man, I fell in love. I mean, like deeply in love with helping people.
Yeah.
And I went, my gosh, this just fills my heart. And all my boys wanted, bro, is this. They wanted someone to love them,
come on,
care about them. Here's a big one. Believe in them and show them how to do better.
Wow.
And what I found out once I started in my businesses, my boys weren't unique. Every human being wants someone to love them, care about them. Biggie is believe in them and just show them how to do whatever you can better. People say, how do you coach the, you know, so-and-so that used to run a country or so-and-so athlete? I already know what they want from me. They want me to love, care, believe in them, and then teach them something or show them how to do it better. And I'm the best on the planet at some of those things, especially how to improve your life. I don't think, you know, we mentioned some of the gurus of the space. What's unique about me, if I can brag, is I was already successful before I did this. I'm not telling people how to do stuff that, you know, I didn't already do to become successful. My stuff is tried and true application. My favorite book of all time, by the way, other than my Bible, is the Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's yours too. Right. The problem with the book, though, and it's my favorite, is it's not true. You don't think and get rich. You have to do things. And so in my book, what I talk about is the thought and the action incongruency. What do you have to think? What do you have to do together to produce a result? And that book's never been written. Most personal development or business books or leadership books are some derivative of Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. But you're reading the same book with a little bit different jargon in it. My book is not that. My book is not that. Although Think and Grow Rich is the best of all time, there's a level past it, and I just wrote it. It's called The Power of One More.
Wow, man, let's get into The Power of One More. But this is is this your second book?
My second book. My first book's 100 pages. I wrote it to be quick. You can read it in a day. You're done. This book, my dad died. I said, hey, here's the thing, man. I learned most of these lessons from my old man, but also I realized something. I'm next. I don't know how long I have. I don't know if I have a week. I don't know if I have a year, 50 years. I have no idea. I'm going to write a book at this stage of my life where I can still remember it, the stuff I know. So my great grandkids can pick up a book and go, what did great granddaddy Eddie think about happiness and success? How do I produce more of it? And it's hard, man. And I'll be honest with you, I'm probably not going to write another one, at least not for a long time. It is a hard thing to do for a very verbal person like me to write. And so this thing's 280 pages, and it'll hopefully stand the test of time.
I love it, man. So let's jump into the book. You said some powerful things. Give us a Cliff Note version. I mean, obviously you're talking about, hey, the mindset and faith, and you're talking about doing. Give us a Cliff Note version of why you wrote this book and what's behind the story in the book.
Well, I wrote the book when my dad died because I want to help people. But I'll be candid with you. People go on their shows and promote their books. This is a heavy book.
Yeah.
So if you want a fluffy book of like, hey, here's your mindset, this ain't that book. Yeah. This book is detailed, real stuff on your brain, the reticular activating system. I have a chapter called The Matrix. You really want to develop self-confidence? I show you how to do it. You want to change your identity? I show you how to do it. The premise, though, is really easy. The premise is the Bible tells us, you know the Bible so well, bro. We prayed before we came on air.
Come on.
The Bible says where there's no vision, the people will perish. I think if you look deeper at that scripture, I think most people do have some vision. They kind of know, come on. Would you rather have a jet or fly commercial? Would you rather have a beautiful home or rent an apartment? Would you rather be happy or sad? Most people have a jet. Would you rather have a great relationship and a fit body or be out of shape and not be in love? Most people have some vision for their life, right? Yeah. Their issue is depth perception. They think they're further away, like way further away. Because they believe it's so far away because the world projects this on us, they act in accordance with that thought process, and it always stays further away. Here's the truth. The power of one more means this. You are one decision, one thought, one meeting, one relationship, one new emotion, one new podcast, one new book potentially away from a completely different life. I'm a product over time. Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, if you can survive the temporary pain, on the other side of the temporary, you get introduced to what he calls your other self.
Yep.
And most people make permanent decisions in temporary conditions.
Yeah.
So what I try to do in the book, my dad, when he got sober, I don't know how your dad's done it, but I remember when my dad got sober, I was 15. I said, Daddy, are you going to stay sober forever? Probably your dad would say this too. My dad said, I don't know. I'm going to stay sober for one more day at a time. Yep. And that's, for me, it's like when I thought about quitting, I just don't quit for one more day. Then the question becomes, if I'm right, if you are one decision, one relationship, one meeting, one blah, blah, blah away, how do you find them? How do you find them? How do you become the person who finds these relationships, makes these decisions, gets these emotions, has those thoughts? And then I get very granular in the book on how to do it.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the book is for any individual that says, hey, I want to win in life. I want to win in business. I want to win in relationships. It is a personal development book. It's going to make you.
Yeah, I would say yes. I always criticize myself. I might have even written too broad of a book because I wrote it for everyone. You want to be a better mother, father, person of faith, brother, business person, coach in sports, entrepreneur, or just be happier. It's for you. And it's a very detailed, like the whole second chapter is called The Matrix. And it's about your reticular activating system in your brain, which is the filter for your whole life, right? It reveals to you that which is most important to you. Most people don't get this, that law of attraction, the secret, that's so watered, so puffy. What is it? It's your RAS in your brain. It's in the prefrontal cortex. How do you program it? I'll show you. So that, I'll give you an example. It filters into your awareness what matters. So I just bought a Tesla. I really like what Musk is doing right now. I don't want a Tesla. I've had far nicer cars, right?
Buying Twitter.
Right, but I bought it. Why? Because I like this cat. So I tell my team on a Thursday, get me a new Tesla. I got a Tesla Plaid Friday. I'm driving this car, brother. Everywhere on the road now, I see Teslas. Everywhere. Yeah. 3 lanes over, other side of the freeway. Babe, another Tesla. Babe, a white Tesla. Babe, a black Tesla. They were always there. Why didn't I see them before? Because they weren't part of my RAS. They hadn't become important. The key thing in life, this is why most people never get it, because the difference between winning and losing, happiness and not, is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about, and no one really knows what the difference is. I do. that what has to happen is those decisions, those meetings, those thoughts, those relationships have to become your Teslas.
Come on.
And when they do, you will see, hear, and feel them everywhere.
Come
So
on.
I'll teach you how to do that. It's called the Matrix. The other reason I use the Matrix, you'll love this. In the Matrix, Neo is the one in his family. He's the one that's going to change everything. And everyone's family, when you see someone living wealthy or happy or both, realize at some point in their lineage, generationally back, they weren't. And then the one shows up. And that one changes that family forever. In my family, I'm the one. And if you're listening to this or watching this, you are doing that because you are the one. You're going to change it. The question is how? How? And I think this book will help you with the how.
Man, it's so powerful. Like, if you're listening right now, this is Ed Mylett. We're talking about his new book, The Power of One More. Guys, what you just said is so powerful. And I think, Ed, a lot of times people get caught up here. And so talk a little about the person listening that said, you know, hey, I don't know, Ed, JC, you're on the show together. Man, everything might be okay for you guys, but my life is a mess right now, right? Maybe it's financial, maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental. I think what we're talking about is reconditioning your systems of your brain. We know it as, you know, we all get to choose, like Tony Robbins said years ago, the meaning of anything in life only has a meaning you choose to give it.
That's
and
right.
a lot of choices we make on a daily basis is perspective. What's the meaning I'm going to give this situation? What's the story that I'm going to assign to the situation? It doesn't matter for your body, for your marriage, for your calling, for your purpose. And so talk to the person that says, man, I want to get my vision back. Ed, I'm going to get your book, but I'm stuck right now. I need a new vision. I need a supernatural vision day for my life. Yep. What would you say to that person right now, Ed, that needs a new vision?
What I would say to you is something occurred to me after I wrote the book. This is so interesting. My dad got sober and changed our family tree forever. I want everyone to hear this. I didn't write this in the book. I'm giving this to you because it occurred to me after. I was being interviewed on a show and I went, oh my God, someone helped my dad. And I don't know who they are because it's an anonymous program. Someone helped my dad in a quiet moment at his bottom of his life. Some precious human helped my father.
Come on.
And do you know what qualified that person to help my dad? Their mess. The fact that they were once a drunk and an alcoholic. The very thing they were most ashamed of, that they were the most down about, was the very thing that's caused me to be on this show with you today, bro. You see, success in life is small things and big things. Some person who was a mess, who was down, helped my father change our family forever. So this thing you're going through, on the other side of it is this other self for you that Napoleon Hill talks about. And I got to tell you, this thing that you said about meaning is so true. I have a whole chapter on the questions we ask ourselves. Because if you go a little deeper, what does meaning come from? Meaning comes from the question we ask ourselves about what's happening. So if you want to change the meaning in the story, you have to change the question you ask yourself. And so I will teach you the correct questions to ask when adversity hits. And if you're in the middle of that adversity, we have to change the story. We have to change the meaning, but we have to go back one more. What's the question you're asking yourself? Because what's thinking? I have actually a whole chapter on thinking. Thinking is the process of asking yourself questions and answering them. That's what a thought is. And so you have all these unconscious questions you're asking yourself. I'll give you one of mine.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm a grown man. I'm 51 years old. I don't have everything figured out, bro. I didn't write a book because I'm perfect. I wrote a book because I can give you hope.
Come on.
And one of the things I'm always doing that I'm working on myself with is, one of the primary questions always going on in my mind is, what do I need to worry about right now? What do I need to worry about right now? What do I need to worry about right now? You know what that comes from? Worrying about my dad and what he was going to come home at night when I was a little boy. Wow. And I've hardwired this unconscious thought in my mind. So that no matter hundreds of millions of wealth, beautiful wife, great kids, amazing friendships, contributory work, I still worry all the time. And now the cool thing about having a thought that doesn't serve you is the awareness of the thought helps you lose its power over you. And now I go, I'm doing that thing again, man. I got awareness over it. And then I ask myself, what question do I need to ask myself right now that'll change that thought? And I teach you how to do that in the book. And I don't want to be here just selling the book. I want to help you all. That's why I'm hoping what I'm telling you when you listen to me is that when you see me I don't want to be your idol. I want to be the person that you go, if that guy can do it, man, where he comes from with his background, and I'm vulnerable. You said I have this big following on social. Here's what's unique about my following. I have to say, I've never run an ad. Anybody in my league, the Gary V's, the Grants, the whoever's, Tony's, they've all run hundreds of millions of dollars of ads on social media. I've never run one, not a nickel. Why? Why have I grown? Because of the content. Because of the content. The stuff helps you. And I'm called to do this now. Yep. But originally I wasn't. It wasn't my background. Now I've had a different thought. I've produced a different life. And by the way, what qualifies me to help you? How screwed up I was. Yeah. So if you're screwed up, welcome to the family, because that's who helped my dad.
Come on, I love it. I love it. You know, here's the thing, man. I know people have been in your house, and I think the thing that the common denominator that everybody said that interacts with you is, you make time for everybody, right? It doesn't matter if you're behind stage going to speak. It doesn't matter if you're at an event. It doesn't matter if you're on social media, that you make time for people. And I think you said something interesting earlier, and we didn't get into this, but you're worth a lot of money, right? And you've had a lot of success in the financial industry. You don't have to do this, right? Obviously, this is a calling. There's a strong why. There's a driver. There's a juice. You don't have to do this. You're not doing this to make $1, right? You don't put out the podcast to make $1. You're doing this because it's a calling. It's a purpose. There's something inside you that says, I really want to bring hope to a generation. I really want to help people max out their life. I really want to help people win and get unstuck. And everybody I talked to said, man, you're like, yeah, he's a great speaker. Or, yeah, he might have been a great business guy. I don't even know everything he does, but man, he just cares about people.
Thank you.
And
well,
so,
I gotta tell you, I love human beings, and it's easy to get. It's so easy, by the way, right now to not. It's so easy to be divided. It's so easy to have to look. I've had a lot of people let me down in my life. I've had people harm me. I've had people take advantage of me. But all in all, I believe God doesn't make mistakes. We're all the children of the same God. So when I meet somebody, it drives my wife crazy. We'll get in a car. People say, you must have a driver in security. Sometimes I do. But I like to get in Ubers. I just got in an Uber last week, bro. I got to tell you this really quick. I always tell people, tell me your story.
Come on.
I get in this Uber. This gentleman's from Lebanon. And I said, man, tell me about Lebanon. It was not what I expected. He's like, well, I lived in a gated community, actually. I had Christian neighbors, Jewish neighbors, Muslim neighbors, agnostic neighbors. I said, you're kidding me. Really? He goes, yeah. He goes, we all got along. We all had block parties. I said, you're got to be kidding. I would have never pictured that. I said, tell me about your family. This guy's driving an Uber, 11 o'clock at night, my wife and I. He says, I've got a son at Yale. I've got a daughter at Harvard, and my little boy's going to Stanford next year. So I drive for Uber to help supplement their student loans and their education. I go, my gosh, what an amazing man you are. Tell me about your wife. He goes, well, I'm a good dad, but my wife's a world-class mother. And I just went, this beautiful soul, he's just hidden in this Uber, kind of driving life, doing it for his kids, 11 o'clock at night, has a day job. What a remarkable man. People are incredible. This man inspired me. And by the way, now I'm telling millions of people about it, right? So I think you all need to just realize you have something to give. You were born to do something great with your life. And the more you pursue that, the more you know that, the more you embrace that, say that I was born to do something great with my life, small ways and big ways. I'm really famous now. My sister, who's my middle sister, is blind. She was born with diabetes. She makes $44,000 a year. She's a Christian school 4th grade teacher. She's living greatly, man. Because what she does every day, she takes advantage of her natural giftedness in the service of other people. That's a great life. She's a great nurturer, an unbelievable teacher. She's incredibly patient. She's 4'11", so she's the same height as her students. My sister's kicking ass in life, right? She's not a millionaire. She's not on Instagram, but she takes her giftedness and uses it in the service of other people. No different than you and I do. She just does it differently.
I love it, bro. I love it. Yeah, I think, what's funny is we have so many similarities. I love you because, like, me and my wife, we'll joke around. Like, we'll take an Uber or we'll go to a restaurant and my wife knows I'm going to ask that same exact question, Ed. That's the same question I asked the waitress. Hey, what's your story? Just yesterday it happened, Sunday evening, it's late. We're like, let's go grab something to eat. We go to grab something to eat. My wife's like, here he goes. She knows. We sit in this little booth and how I show up in the life, caring about people. And I think for you, there's so many people that they get to a certain place. And I don't know if it's a certain place in status, in fame, in financial. They lose that, brother. They lose that. They start to get sidetracked and it becomes about them. And they start to show up more about here I am. There's 2 types of people in the world, right? The here I am people, let me get. It's all about me, serve me, take care of me. Or there you are. And
There
I
you
think
are.
what I love about you, what you just said is, I got an Uber. How many people ignore the Uber driver, never have a conversation with him, and you walked in there saying, I'm on an assignment. This Uber driver's life is going to be radically changed because he interacted with me today. Let me get interested in him. And this is not just about me and my wife getting a ride.
No, you know what?
That's an
By the way,
order.
that exact sentence is what I've told my children, bro. You're amazing. I've told my children many times, I said, there's two types of people in the world. You walk in, here I am, or you walk in and go, there you are. You're going to decide right now which one you are. And the other part of it too, no matter how much wealth, I built a financial company. I built 23 other businesses. I've owned hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. And by the way, I'm proud of that. It's not like I discount that. It's just that my parents didn't rate, my dad, bro, I got to tell you, I've had 5 jets. I'm in my 5th jet right now. My jets have all been parked 1 mile from my mom and dad's house, all of them, before my dad passed away. My dad had never been on one of them. I used to go, Dad, let's fly to Maui, go play some golf. My dad would say, no, why would I get on your plane and go all the way to Maui when we could just play in Chino at El Prado Municipal Golf Course? I don't care about the plane or Maui or the golf.
Come
I
on.
want to be with my son. So I have this family that's kind of kept me really, really grounded in my life. It's not that I don't want to be wealthy. I've been happy poor and I've been happy rich. Happy rich is way, 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 way better. Go get rich. But don't get there and have no soul. Don't get there and not have contributed. Don't get there and not have given to other human beings, because that's the richness of life. That's the bliss of life, is serving in another human.
Wow. Powerful, man. Well, I appreciate you not losing that. Hey, you said something about questions, man. I want to jump in really quick to one powerful question that changed my life.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you what is this for you is like, I think, we've heard it before, right? The I am statement, right? And we're talking about identity, right? Was there a time in your life where you had of all businesses, you're talking about being successful in business, all businesses have core values, what they stand for, what they're about. And I think so many times people lose their drive, they lose their purpose, they lose their focus. And one of the things that brought me back to absolutely getting me back on track to win was when I came back to a true understanding of who I was. The world wasn't going to define it for me any longer. My past mistakes weren't going to tell me. The media, me losing my basketball opportunity, my dad being alcoholic, none of that, my past mistakes, what I did, none of that was going to define me. When I made a decision to truly stand up and say, this is who I am, and come to a true understanding of my identity, I believe the greatest belief you could have is a belief in God, a creator. The second greatest belief you could ever have, Ed, is a belief in you, in who you are and who you can become. So I want you to talk about that for a second. Like, what about that question? Look in the mirror and say, who am I? I think so many people are in an identity crisis.
Yes.
Talk to that person. Then I would love for you to tell people, who is Ed Mylett?
Yeah.
Like, forget the Jets, forget all that.
Yeah.
Who is Ed Mylett? That's what I would love to hear, man.
Okay, I can tell you, Ed Mylett is beautifully intended.
Come
And
on.
what I mean by that is this: my intentions are good. So my identity does not, nor does myself. In the book, I talk about the trilogy of self-confidence and identity. And I say the trilogy of these 3 things is: 1, your faith. It's amazing to me how many people have faith and they walk into a boardroom and leave God at the door. Jesus is gone when they walk into their first date. It's gone when they're trying to buy an apartment building. So it's faith, intention, and association, who you're around. But I'm going to stay on the second one. I'm well intended, beautifully intended. What that means is this: my confidence does not come from my ability. If you keep linking your confidence or your identity to your ability to do things, you will constantly be chasing your tail. I had a chance to meet Wayne Dyer. Most of you don't know who he is. When I was very young, he remained a friend of mine until his passing. And one thing he would always remind me of, when I met him, he was writing a book called The Power of Intention. He said, Ed, you're going to change the world, which I'm sure he told lots of people. And I said, Dr. Dyer, why in the world would I change the world? He goes, because your intentions are so beautiful.
Come on.
You want to make a difference. You want to help people. You may not have every answer. You may not have every single element that's perfect about you. He goes, but I'm going to tell you something. You'll get them. You want to help people. So when I do a podcast like this, or I go give a speech in front of 50,000 people, or I'm coaching a world leader, or I'm doing a business deal, or I'm with my kids, I remind myself, hey, I intend to do well. I intend to serve. My intentions will be the energy. See, we're always making people feel something, aren't we, right? So why not take control of what they're feeling? People sense energy. With me, I want them to sense my intent. This man cares about me. This man intends to make a difference. This man, if I'm in a business environment, people, why do you make so many great business deals? I'm all about my intention. And I want to intend to serve you. I want to intend to win. I want this to be a win-win. I don't want to do a deal where I win and you lose. I'm not into those. They're hollow. I don't like how I feel about me. I've done them. It's happened when I was very young. I'm going to win, right? I don't want that. I want us both. My intentions are pure. Not enough of you who are good people are driving enough of your confidence and your identity from not what you produce or do, but who you are. Stop linking your identity to your career or your achievements or your relationship or your body, and it's who you are. I'm confident because of who I am. Who I am is not my money. Who I am is not my watch. Who I am is not my book. Who I am is who I am is my intention. And my intention is I want to help. I want to serve. And man, I walk in boldly with that. Like, I know that about me. And you know what? You can't take that from me. No hater's going to take it. No critic's going to take it. I know my intentions. Not enough of you give yourself credit for your beautiful intent.
Wow. Powerful, powerful, powerful. I love it. So tell us this, Ed. You know, you said some powerful things in there that could change somebody's life. I mean, guys, if you're just joining us, this is Ed Mylett. We're talking about his new book, The Power of One More. What does Ed Mylett want to be known for, man? What do you want to be known for when your time comes to an end? What's the message that you want the world to say, Ed Mylett, that?
Well, that is that God made you in his image and likeness to do something great with your life. If you don't remember me at all, which you won't, that's what I want you to remember, because I'm just a man. I'm flawed. I'm a sinner. I'm saved by the grace of God. So the overall thing is, every human being was born to do something great with their life. End of story. That's what I want everybody to remember. That's the most important thing. And then from there, brother, I just want, if my family remembers me, but wow, he's a good man. He's a good man. Tried to be kind, tried to get better, tried to grow. You know, there's 4 types of people, bro. There's unmotivated. We can't help them yet. Then there's motivated people, or motivational leaders. And they play to your motives, which is great. Get this car, get this house, get this trophy, get this award. Play to motives. That's beautiful. It's wonderful. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's low level, but it's great. And if that's the first thing you got to do, go get it. Then there's this other level though, man, which is inspirational. Inspirational people move you in spirit. They touch your energy. You feel something emotionally. That's a higher level of leadership. It's a higher level of a person moving other people. And then there's rarefied air, and that's aspirational. Aspirational people are people that you would like to be more like. You aspire to be more like them. Now, you never aspire to be like them like you would Jesus. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that person has something about them I aspire to do myself. And I'd like to think that over my lifetime, I moved from unmotivated to motivated to inspirational, that for some people I'm aspirational.
Huge, man. I love it. Listen, I want to say this. If you're listening right now, don't underestimate the power in who you were created to be. You might be listening and saying, well, Ed Mylett, JC, went all day, you're here. I'm telling you right now, Ed's dropping some wisdom for you. And I think the message today is, have belief in you. Stop downsizing your most valuable asset. That's you. There's value in you. Your skills, your mess, everything you went through, right? The gifts that God gave you listening right now. He hasn't given me an Ed. Your experiences, no one has that. And so I ask you the same question if you're listening right now. I just felt led to ask you, same question I asked Ed earlier. What do you want to be known for? What do you want your life to represent? What do you want your message to the world be? I think the inspiration that I just got for many of you listening is, do you see how Ed was very, very straightforward when I asked him that question? He didn't even hesitate. He knew. How many of you know the answer? Like, you got to understand, you were placed on this earth for a reason. And it's to give the world what you have, to do something significant, to serve the people that need you, just like Ed's serving the people that need him. And until we met today, until you put this podcast on, maybe you saw, oh, Ed Mylett's on the win all day, I'm going to tune in. Maybe you're living a life of feeling inferior. Maybe you've been asking the wrong questions. And I believe as you get Ed's book, The Power of One, that's going to be a divine appointment that you're going to create a supernatural vision beyond what you've been seeing. Maybe you joined and listened to this podcast today, you've been feeling unworthy, or you've been underestimating yourself and your abilities. Maybe you forgot who you were born to be. Maybe you've been taking yourself for granted. But I believe as you hear Ed speak today, that he is inspiring you to rise up. That I believe that lack in you, the doubt ends today. That's about calling, that's about new legacy, that's about destiny, that you can win, you will win, and you must win. Ed, you're dropping some wisdom, and I'm so grateful for you, brother.
You're awesome, man. You're awesome.
So let's talk a little more about this book. What's the book's releasing June 1st?
Yep.
And so what's the goal with this book for you? Obviously, you're a businessman. You want to get this book in the hands of as many people as you can. What does God put on your heart? What's the goal of this book?
The goal of this book is that people wake up and start to take their lives seriously and to live them. Here's the whole thing. You want to know the power of one more?
Yep.
What if I just took it from you? What if you couldn't have it? So I'll give you an example. My dad, my favorite thing would be to golf with my dad. That was my best friend. That was my dude. And bro, like it wasn't the golf. We're both terrible. It was the 5 hours sitting in that golf cart with my best friend. And we had deep conversations. I loved my dad. I believe people can change because of my dad. I watched my dad live really bad the first 15 years of my life. And then I watched him live an extraordinary life the last 35. And so I know humans can change because I watched my hero do it. But do you know what I would give for one more round of golf with my dad?
Come on, brother.
You know what I would give for one more conversation with him?
Come on.
Those of you listening to this, if you have somebody that you love in your life, what if I told you only have one more time to talk to them? What if you only get one more dance with your sweetie heart that you're married to, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend? We only had one more. And if you started to look at your life that way, would it be a little bit different? When you walk into a room, what if this is the last time I get to talk to my daughter? What if this was the last meeting? What if this is the last podcast I get to do, right? What if this was the last book I write? So you start taking it away and you go, wow, there is a blessing and a power. Now, here's the good news. If you're listening to this, you got one more day. You got one more day. Hopefully the value of it has just increased dramatically when I tell you that, guess what? Someday you will have one more day. I was blessed. I was with my dad when he had one more day in his living room, holding his hand. I was with him when he took one last breath. And I can tell you this, someday you will be my dad. Someday I will be my dad. Napoleon Hill says, begin with the end in mind. How about your life? How about beginning with the end of your life in mind? What do you want to feel when it's that one last day? The moments, the memories, the experiences, the difference you made, the man or woman you become in your life. And the great news about it is you do have at least one more day. And so drop the past. That is a non-issue. My dad in that one last day was not worrying about bills he had, business deals he didn't do, haters of his. He didn't worry about all that stuff. It was the moments of his life he was most grateful for. It was the people in his life. It was the difference that he made. My dad helped thousands of people get sober. It was the man he had become. And so when my dad was dying, brother, his phone was ringing. And he's on. My dad had my voice when he was healthy. After years of cancer, my dad had lung issues. He was, hello. He would talk like that. His phone's ringing, man. He's saying to my mom, Debbie, who is it? It's on oxygen. Debbie, who is it? Don't worry about it, Ed. My dad had the same name as me. Don't worry about it. It's okay. And my dad says, who is it? She says, it's somebody named Raul. My dad goes, give me the phone. And my mom gives her the phone and it's Raul. My dad talked to Raul for 20 minutes. He talked him off the ledge from going back drinking.
Come on.
And my dad would go, Raul, just don't do it one more day. One more day, brother. Wow. And Raul makes me emotional. Raul spoke at my dad's funeral. My dad helped a lot of people get sober. This man, Raul, walks up. I didn't know who he was. He says, my name is Raul. I won't say his last name. And he goes, I met Ed Mylett 20 years ago and he changed my life. I've heard that sentence a lot, except it was my dad. And he goes, I was incarcerated for 20 years. And when I got out, I was drinking and I went to a meeting and this kind man walked across the room and stuck his hand out and said, I'm Ed Mylett. I'm here to help you stay sober one more day at a time. And he said that led to 20 years of text messages, early breakfast, late night phone calls. Whenever I needed him, he was there. And so into his dying days, my dad was living his standard. Remember this, in our lives, we don't get our goals most of the time. We get like 20% of our goals. Ultimately, you will always eventually get your standards. And so if you set a standard for who you are and what you stand for and who you're going to become, you will eventually get that. And I'm proud to say that my dad did that in his life. And I can tell you that all of you can do that in your life with one decision right now that you're going to start setting a higher standard.
Wow. And you're going to learn how to do that in the new book, The Power of One More. That perspective shift is hard. I mean, we live in such a busy life, right? We got to hustle. We got to make moves. We got to get there. We got to do more. We got to be more. I think that's a very challenging, like even like the NBA guys I work with, it doesn't matter the level you're at. I think that's a very hard perspective shift to live in the moment, like what you just said, and say, I got to own the moment.
And JC, you know, it's about working with athletes. When do athletes get in slumps or make mistakes? When does a golfer start missing a putt? When they're not in the moment and they're projecting, if I miss this, how bad will I look? They're shooting the free throw to tie the game up with 3 seconds left. When they get out there, what if I miss this? Just be in the moment and execute. You said earlier that I'm usually pretty kind to people backstage or at my home. I remember that. What if I only have one meeting with this person ever in my life? What do I want that meeting to be? You've all the athletes I've worked with and famous people over the years. Before I was a public person, when I would go out with them, I'd watch some of them be kind, and then I'd watch some of them not. And I remember making that decision back then, man, if someone gets one conversation with me, it's going to be a beautiful connection between two brothers or a brother and a sister. They're not going to walk away from that conversation going, wow, man, disappointing when I met Mylett. Jeez, I thought he was a different guy. I'm not letting that happen. That's not my standard.
Wow, brother. I was at an NBA basketball game years ago, not as a young kid, but I was in my 20s. And I remember there was young kids going up to the athletes. I watched one athlete particularly, I would never name him, but he didn't give the kid any attention at all. My heart broke. And I was like, man, I will never be that person. And so I respect it. Talked about this really quick. I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to wrap this up. But I think one of the powerful questions that I would love for you to talk about, because this is a very hard thing for a lot of people. And I've lost business deals over it. I lost, $250,000. We run a nonprofit called Fit First Responders, Fit for Duty, Fit for Life. We work with 178 different agencies, 4,000 first responders. It's amazing. And it's Fit for Duty, Fit for Life, the wellness they need to not only win on the job, but to be their best personal development for first responders. And I'll never forget, just a few years back, I'm sitting with a group of individuals. They committed to donate $250,000, $250,000 to the nonprofit. Exciting times. I'm there to close the deal. One of the guys goes, hey, can I just ask you something? On the website, you talk about your values, your tenets that you run this company by. And he said, you have faith is number one, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's you instill that into these individuals. Is that something that you're willing to take off the website? And I sat there, Ed, and I was like, take off the website for what? And he goes, well, we just can't put our money behind something that's religious. And we had a great conversation. I talked to him the difference between religion and relationship and why we do what we do. And it's we have gay, we have lesbian, we have black, we have white. We love everybody. Everybody's accepted. Like, it has nothing to do with that. And so they didn't give us the money. And so you said something earlier about, hey, when you walk in a room, do you change who you are? How do you balance the faith with doing business, obviously, and coaching a lot of people? And we say, in the world, right? How do you balance that to not compromise who you are? Because I think this is a very powerful thing that a lot of people cannot do. And I've seen a lot of people cave in situations. It was either faith or fame, faith or money. How does Ed Mylett balance that and show up unapologetically Ed Mylett?
The challenge for me when I was younger, bro, was like, I'm not qualified to stand up for my faith. Like, if people knew how screwed up I was, that's what a lot of us think, is like, man, I'm too screwed up. Like, God, you got to hold someone up better than me, right? And I've realized that, you know what, we're all sinners in different ways. And I said this earlier, saved by God's grace. I just made a decision at one point, man. You're going to get me, you're getting all of me. You're getting all of me. And it's totally okay with me if you don't want all of me. We're just not going to be tight. I would rather lose a business deal. I would rather not speak. And by the way, I've had that happen too, where people said, hey, man, we want you to come in and speak. Everything you do, the intensity, all that other stuff.
Yes.
Need you to not bring up the God stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't bring up God every time I speak. I just want you to understand that. It's like,
yep.
Sometimes I'm doing a thing on the brain. But I said, I'd have no governor on it. And if the Spirit calls me to bring up God when I'm talking, I'm bringing up God. So if you're not cool that the Spirit could call me to do it, I'm sorry, brother, because the thing you love most about me is actually the Holy Spirit guiding my words. I don't have a lot written down when I speak. I have some ideas written down. And so for you to ask me not to have God when I speak, that would be like kryptonite, and you will get the absolute worst speech you've ever heard in your life. If you want me to do a business deal with you and we have no God involved in this, I can tell you right now, this is not a blessed business deal, and I won't do the deal with you. So it's just, you're either going to get it or you don't. I think they think sometimes, brother, that like this God thing is something you and I are talking about.
Yeah.
It's an extension and an expression of what I'm thinking all the time. As we were talking, I was thinking about you. When you were talking earlier, I'm like, God's anointed this dude with an amazing ability to communicate. So when I listen to you, you're a good looking dude, you're jacked, you remind me of 15 years ago me or whatever. But when I was watching you, I'm like, man, God's so good. Look at this cat, dude. He can speak, he's good looking, he's anointed, he's got this. So to me, I see God everywhere, right? You can't ask me to do a deal or give a speech where God's not involved, you dummy. And the fact that you even say that, I totally respect you and like you. We're just not for each other.
Yeah.
You're not, or by the way, just not now. Because my prayer is that eventually you have some awakening like I've had and you discover what I've discovered. And here we go. And by the way, I'm exactly like you. If I'm anything, people in the book, I have a whole thing on the quantum field and energy and also on my faith. You think I don't believe in energy and vibration? Look at the relationship you and I already have through this. You can feel the energy. So I believe in all of it. But all of it comes from a loving God who created everything. That's what the premise is for me. And I have the first beginning, I talk about creation, and that everything was created out of nothingness. This is an important thing I'm going to get. Last thing I'll say. God created all of us, this whole world, out of nothingness. And so if he can create a whole world and billions of people and all the things that have been created, he can certainly create something for you out of your nothingness right now. That's a powerful thing to understand. And so you get me with my faith or you don't get me.
I love it, man. Thanks for being bold. Thanks for standing up, Ed. I could talk to you all day, man. I appreciate the compliment. I honestly do. And I feel the energy as well. I love who you are as a man. And I love what you're doing with Max Out and the new book, The Power of One More. And I always like to do this at the end of the show is two things. Just give the people, obviously you're in a personal development, but give the people one of your daily rituals or routines that you say Ed Mylett does every day that sets him up to win all day. What's one thing that you say, I don't waver from this. This is one thing I do every single day, ritual, routine. What's one thing Ed Mylett does to max out and win all day?
I would have said prayer, but we've talked enough about that today. So I pray every day on my knees till I get small. I'll give you one thing I do it's what I don't do. And that is that I don't check my phone the first 30 minutes after I wake up in the morning. Hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life is build that muscle. And here's the reason why. If you grab your phone while you're still laying in bed, you've set a context for your life that you react and respond. If you don't do that and you take control, then you're in charge of your day. First 30 minutes, don't touch your phone. Hardest thing you will ever do. After a month, you will thank me. You'll say, my gosh, my entire context of my life is different. I don't react and respond. I dictate the terms of my life.
Powerful. And the last and final thing, what's the last and final, before we promote this book, I want to tell everybody where they're going to get it. What's the last and final thing that you feel you want to leave the Win All Day audience with today that's on your heart? Any last and final thoughts from the one and only Max Out King himself, Ed Mylett?
Yeah, I will tell you that there's a bright future for you. And if you can begin to operate there's a whole chapter in the book where I talk about being an impossibility thinker and a possibility achiever. Stop operating out of your memory and your history and start operating out of your imagination and your dreams. Let me say this to you again. You've got to stop thinking and operating out of your history and your memory and begin to operate out of your imagination and your dreams. Imagination is the most powerful tool in the world. I have a whole chapter to teach you how to do that in the book. You got to begin to imagine a different life. When you were a little child, you were happier for two reasons. One, you had just left God. And two, your imagination was running wild. You were imagining and dreaming. And as you got older and older and older, your dreams and imagination shrink and your history and your memory begins to prevail. And that's a formula for an unhappy and unsuccessful life. Got to switch that.
Wow, powerful, Ed. All right, so The Power of One More, releasing June 1st. How can everybody get there? Is it in pre-release right now? Can they get a copy now? What can they do to get their hands on this book?
Well, it's coming out. We're releasing this the week of the book, so it's out. And if it's not out, you can pre-order it on Amazon, Target, all these other places. And if you go to thepowerofonemore.com, there's some great tools there that'll help you with the book as well. So go get it anywhere books are sold, bookstores, the airport, anywhere you buy books, or online. And then go over to thepowerofonemore.com, and I got some great resources there for you.
I love it. And guys, I'm buying 7 books. If you drop me an Instagram, Facebook, your biggest takeaway after you listen to this episode, the first 7, I'm mailing you a copy of Ed Mylett's book, and I'm mailing you a copy of my book with it. So you're going to get my book, you're going to get Ed Mylett's book together. Ed, we're grateful for you. Thank you for blessing our audience. I always like to do one last thing. If you could help me out, I would love for you to say, this is Ed Mylett. I am a winner. I will win and win all day. Can you finish the show like that? This is Ed Mylett. I am a winner. I will win and win all day.
I'm Ed Mylett. I am a winner. I will win and I will win all day.
All day, baby. That's it. You heard it. This is Coach JC with the man himself, Ed Mylett, The Power of One More, his new book. Ed, we're grateful for you. And I want to remind you guys one last time until the next episode that you were born a winner. So go win and win all day. We'll get at you next time.